all of your dreams that are big, small or strange, we've got you covered with our Monster Loan range. Monster Loans from the Credit Union. Imagine more. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. If you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Credit unions in the Republic of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Herbst Software have 40 years of IT know-how empowering B2B companies, reducing admin whilst boosting live managerial possibilities. For Lean is the golden seam that can bring your company a dream team. Herbst Software, Irish-built innovations integrate all business operations, take away mistakes and give workers the breaks. To be fair, we're small enough to care, yet big enough to be the best in the sectors we suggest. At herbst.ie, that's herbst.ie.
During the tidal wave of lockdown money printing, did your financial institution warn you in advance about a high inflation outcome and its game-changing impact? If not, how do you expect your investment and pension strategy to have been fundamentally changed? Take action. Get informed advice from hobbsfinancial.ie, where high inflation was called out long before it happened. That's hobbsfinancial.ie for strategies to combat higher inflation.
Terms and conditions apply. Hobbs Financial Practice Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The world is moving fast and changing faster. That is why we have come together, a group of established wealth management companies united by a shared vision for a new future. We are Unio, a new breed of wealth manager with deep expertise and prestigious global backing. With a digital experience not seen before, a wealth of wisdom to make a world of difference. Visit unio.ie. A new world awaits. Unio Financial Services Limited, trading as Unio Wealth Management, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Guaranteed Irish business member Kilsaran continue to sustain jobs and communities across Ireland. Building a patio, putting up a fence or rendering your home, Kilsaran have a full range of construction materials including paving, walling, decorative stone, concrete blocks, coloured render, mortars and screeds to sort out any job, big or small. Available in hardware, DIY and builders merchant stores nationwide. Visit kilsaran.ie for a full list of stockists. So look out for the G. Guaranteed Irish. Altogether better.
The future's exciting, the future's electric, and you can experience it today in the all-electric Peugeot E208. Enjoy the stylish design, the advanced technology, and all the benefits of electric driving with zero emissions. Now with a year's free road tax, a 3-year free service plan, €1,000 eco bonus, and it's in stock right now. See the full range of alluring Peugeot EVs at your local Peugeot dealer or book a test drive at peugeot.ie. Terms and conditions apply.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night Edition available now.
Now you're welcome along. Own on YouTube. Has everyone simply forgotten Man City are under investigation for multiple breaches? I think you'll find 115 to be exact. Own of financial fair play. So even if they do win the treble, they may end up with no trophy. Well, I think the odds on them being punished with their many lawyers and all their money to defend this forever just feel very remote. But no, we haven't forgotten it. In fact, it was a big part of our conversation last night with Jonathan Wilson about how a Man City treble in 2023 would feel so different to a Man United treble in 99. So that is waiting for you, Owen. You'll find it. It's a good conversation. Michael McCarthy's still here.
Hiya. Do you remember Juventus were docked a load of points there a while ago? Oh wait, what happened that? Oh yeah, sorry. The people with money and reputations do not get punished in this world, Joe. I think we already know that.
Okay. Richie McCormack is with us. Hello.
How are you, lads?
We are very well. So plenty going on. Let's get stuck into the news round. It is, as ever, brought to you with thanks to Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night Edition is available now. Where are we starting, Rich?
There's 3 other games tonight. It's almost easy to forget, pardon me. Nottingham Forest could well climb out of the bottom 3 if they beat Brighton at the City Ground. As expected, no Evan Ferguson risked for the visitors there tonight. Liverpool are away to West Ham and they're without Ibrahima Konate in their defence. Joel Matip takes his place alongside Virgil van Dijk. And there's a West London derby at Stamford Bridge where Chelsea play Brentford.
We are all over the football this evening. We'll keep you updated. Live commentary, if you're just tuning in, of Manchester City against Arsenal is on the menu. Now, Dan McDonnell in the Irish Independent had a big story this morning about the massive amounts of money from the betting levy which have gone towards horse racing and greyhound racing over the last 20 years, give or take, Rich, and it's been discussed in the Dáil.
I wouldn't say disgust. We'll get to that in a moment. But the Taoiseach Leo Varadkar has suggested he's unwilling to revisit government policy on the distribution of taxes from betting. The FAI has submitted a 77-page report to the government highlighting flaws with the Horse and Greyhound Racing Fund. Set up in 2001, that fund sees all betting excise duty in Ireland split 80-20 between horse racing and greyhound racing alone. The report's authors, KHSK Economic Consultants, say those sports now only account for half of bets placed in Ireland. They claim if the fund was split fairly, then football would receive around €20 million annually. KHSK say of nearly 29,000 people quoted by Deloitte as working in the equestrian industry, nearly a quarter of those worked in bookies, with a further 7,000 not directly involved at all. When questioned about the report today by Labour leader Aodhán Ó Ríordáin, the Taoiseach had this response.
I just don't agree with your approach on this. I wouldn't pit sport against the equestrian industry that we have in Ireland. We've increased funding dramatically for sport over the past couple of years, and we're going to continue to do so. There was a time when the budget for sport in Ireland was something like €7 million. Now it's like €150 million, and we're going to continue to invest in sport. But I don't think you should pit sport against the equestrian industry. The equestrian industry in Ireland, horse sport, racing, stud farms, all of that, it employs tens of thousands of people. It's worth about €1 billion a year. And I just think it's wrong. If you want to do them down, but don't try and pit them against sport. That's not fair.
So in Dan's piece, for those of you who haven't had a chance to
extraordinary response,
read it, and I would recommend it. The figures, as Richie outlined, 1.5 billion between 01 and 2021. It comes courtesy of the betting levy. And I would say at times when the betting levy hasn't been enough, the government have topped up that fund anyway to the tune of 494 million over these 20 years in taxpayer money. But it's 1.5 billion paid out, but 494 million of that is not the betting levy. It's just further taxpayers' money. As Richie alluded to, the Irish Independent in their piece spoke to industry insiders, and so football these days accounts for pretty much 50% of betting. Greyhound racing is somewhere around 7%, and yet it's receiving 20% of that 1.5 billion over 20 years. And the point is made in Dan's piece that all this money has, for instance, allowed Horse Racing Ireland to raise levels of prize money when the stats show that all this prize money mostly benefits a privileged few, some of whom are not tax resident in this country. And they're very much classed as industries as opposed to sports. That's what Leo Varadkar's getting at there. And the point is made in Dan's piece as well. I think it's a fair one to ask, and it's a point KHSK make. They say Ireland is recognised as a world leader in horse racing, so why is it still so reliant on state funding given the wealth visible around the dominant upper echelons? And in the case of greyhound racing, why is this declining industry kept afloat by tax funds when this parachute isn't extended to other sectors of Irish society, let alone other sports, but other sectors of Irish society aren't so well looked after? I think it is one of the great deals back in 2001 ever managed. I mean, I think there's a piece in how it all came about, because it must be one of the great deals ever swung by any sport or industry in this case. But 1.5 billion and 494 million of that is from taxpayers' money to top up the betting levy. I just don't think anyone thinks it's appropriate.
Except for Leo Varadkar, seemingly. You know, like, this is what we have to, like, if you read Dan's piece this morning before you listened to Leo Varadkar, there's no way that you weren't chuckling along listening to him, because all of the points that the piece, the report laid out, that this is what they say, this is about the equestrian industry, this is what they say about the amount of jobs that it provides, how much money it brings into the economy, and how that is all completely undermined by the report, which it actually digs into where those jobs are and so on and so forth. And it's absolutely the Taoiseach's response there. You know, and talking about, like, even I just thought it was kind of a glib thing for him to just blame. It was Aodhán Ó Ríordáin, Richie, was it? Who was asking the question, for him to blame him for pitting sport up against equestrian, whereas actually this is the FAI who have sent this forward, and it just feels like it's not being taken seriously. Now it's early stages yet, and it's not probably for the Taoiseach to respond to it. It's going to be for the Department of Agriculture, which is a whole thing in itself as to why horse racing falls under the Department of Agriculture rather than the Department of Sport. So I feel like we haven't heard the last of this by any means, but the whole thing is just fascinating. You're right though, it's some deal that they got, but again, it's so black and white. It's so black and white.
It's an amazing stat that so the go-to defence is that, well, there are 29,000 people quoted by Deloitte as working in the equestrian industry, but then it turns out a quarter of those work in bookies and a further 7,000 aren't involved
directly
at all. Now, should we protect jobs in horse racing, and should we in media? Okay, should we protect horse racing? And do you want to see any industry run down? No,
but no one's saying to run it down. No one's saying to run it down.
I know.
That's what Varadkar's getting at.
I'm just saying, Rich. Just finish.
I know, but just that argument itself, it's like no one's saying that it should be run down, and no one's saying that they want to see it fail. But if that's your money you're getting from the government, you can't say it's your money unless you've actually earned it. And the stats show that 50% of betting, look at any football show and what it's buffeted by in terms of its ads. It's all betting, and it's all football. So 50% of betting money comes from football.
No, sorry, it isn't. This 50% comes from non-horse racing and
from non-horse racing, yeah.
And then football is about 50% of that 50%, yeah.
But generally, it's not looking to take away their money. It's looking for them to prove that they're earning it, and they can't prove that they're earning it based on those figures that are presented in the report.
Let's go snooker. Ronnie O'Sullivan then.
Yeah, his hopes of winning an 8th World Snooker Championship collapsed spectacularly this afternoon. He lost all 7 frames of the afternoon session to lose 13-10 to Luca Brecel. Speaking to Eurosport afterwards, O'Sullivan wasn't too downcast about his exit.
I felt all right. I just thought I just got to maybe just hang on and try and graft it out and see what can happen. But I just never put up any resistance. The chance I did have, didn't score heavy enough. Running out of position a lot, chasing the game. Guys playing well against you, putting you under pressure. Sometimes you just don't win. That's just as simple as it's simple. The other guy plays better on the day, deserves his victory.
Brecel is going to play either Anthony McGill or Si Jiahui in the semi-finals. They have resumed at 8 frames apiece, playing the first frame of that session at the moment. Mark Selby resumed 9-5 up on John Higgins, and he's some ways towards claiming the 15th frame of that match as well. Of course, the first to 13 will make it through to the semi-finals and play Mark Allen, who booked his semi-final spot in his first in 14 years with a 13-10 win over Jack Jones today.
Ronnie, go on, Michael. That is not the script.
Are you a new blood man, or it's only interesting when Ronnie is there?
Probably a touch more towards the latter.
Yeah, Arthur was like, this is great for the tournament, and look, who wants to see the same guy with it all the time? And I'm like, I was really looking forward to Ronnie versus John Higgins in the final. If it got to that, I would have watched all 30 however many frames there would be. Now I'm like, yeah, we'll see what happens over the weekend.
In a world that is changing too quickly before my eyes,
snooker never changes.
Watching Ronnie John Higgins is precisely what I need.
I know. Luca Brecel, I need him in the semi-finals 12 years in a row before I develop any kind of relationship with him.
So that is not the script.
Well, he was 10-6, going into this session 10-6 up and lost 13-10. Think about that, for Ronnie O'Sullivan. But it's an amazing story from the other side of it. It's just one that we're all going to find it hard to get our head around.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the cricket then. Ireland obviously off to a very good start against Sri Lanka yesterday.
Yeah, I think this is heading for a draw. Ireland made to toil in the field on day 3 of their second test with Sri Lanka in Gal today. Sri Lanka opener Nisha Madushka remains not out on 149, with the hosts ending the day on 357 for 1. Captain Dimoth Karantana also made a century, while Kusal Mendes is just 17 runs off his own. They'll resume their first innings in the morning, still 135 runs short of Ireland's total of 492.
Are we still happy with a draw, Michael?
Yeah, well, I mean, a draw is a good result. It's just it's very unlikely that you have to get 20 wickets to win a Test match, and there isn't going to be time for Ireland to realistically get that, having to bat again in the meantime as well. And obviously they do have to protect their total as well and not get bowled out for 85 and risk losing the game. So it's looking like a draw, as Richie said. I didn't realise that this game was being broadcast live on Premier Sports, so if people are interested in it tomorrow, it's on early in the morning obviously and throughout the early afternoon, so worth watching if you can. I didn't realise it was on TV here.
Trying to take the money off horse racing Forget it, Jake, it's Chinatown, says a texter. Is the lack of funding really what's holding the FAI back? They can't even sort themselves out with a sponsor, says John Tipperary. I mean, it's part of it, John, I think. And in terms of what they can do at grassroots, it would go a long way. By the way, I am not advocating that we just take this 1.5 billion of the last 20 years and somehow, just because this is part of an FAI report, that we give it all to football. But certainly, I do agree with Roy Barrett, and he gave some very interesting interviews on his departure from the FAI a few weeks ago. I mean, he strongly made the argument that football in this country has been underfunded. And that, given its popularity, I just think that is an impossible point to debate. It has been underfunded, there's no doubt.
And it relates to the texter's initial point, because we've talked about this a good bit on Slight Tangent. The underfunding, I think, has been largely the fault of the FAI, not solely, but, you know, in not almost fighting their corner strongly enough. And, you know, regardless of whether this is right or wrong or whether the money would be put to use, I'm delighted to see them fighting their corner in this regard, because it is. Now, there's another argument to say, like, what has football betting on, you know, Champions League or, you know, Italian Serie A got to do with the FAI?
Yeah.
You know, so, and I mean, I'm sure that's the same with the betting levy for horse racing, greyhound racing as well. But at the same time, why should it necessarily go to the FAI or the GEA or IRFU or whoever?
Yeah, I like the betting levy should not go to whichever sport is generating the most betting. It should just be money taken and distributed evenly.
In the same way as sport is, exactly.
Yeah, I think so. There is GAA on the scene, Rich, live GAA.
Yeah, the last remaining place in this year's Airgrid All-Ireland Under-20 football semi-finals is up for grabs tonight. Derry meet down at the Boxit Athletic Grounds to decide the Ulster champions. That is just thrown in. The winners will meet Leinster champions Kildare in next week's All-Ireland semi-finals. Kildare, meanwhile, can book their place in the Electric Ireland Leinster minor semi-finals tonight with a win over Laois in their last group game. Dublin lead only a draw against Westmeath to finish top of Group 2. There was a 6:30 start in RD, so they're into the second half there, where it's currently Louth 5 points, Meath 5 points in their encounter. Carlow, meanwhile, still hoping to reach the knockout phase. They play Group 3 leaders Wicklow. That's at Netwatch Cullen Park and also just underway.
Kildare rising, Joe, 2 under-20s Leinsters in a row.
Yeah, we're coming over that
fair
hill.
enough, they're heading to the Salton Cup in the seniors this year, but it's all
but
there.
We could win
future.
it now.
Yeah,
we'll win it in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
We should just mention, well, ironically, given the discussion we've had, Punchestown onto, and I'm sorry when I say ironic, like the point I was just making earlier on. Nobody's advocating the dismantling or running down of horse racing. The point is that racing's in a great place, and as Dan's piece says, it is dominated by the upper echelons in many cases, and it's just worth thinking for a second. This 1.5 billion, 80% of which has gone to horse racing. So we are talking about 64% of state money. 64% of state money is used as the prize money in horse racing. So a huge amount of we're talking about, you got to keep jobs, and none of us want to see a single job lost in racing. But 64% of the state support for horse racing is prize money. Now, of that 64%, 21% of it goes to how many owners in 2019? 3.
Yeah.
So there is a huge transfer of state and betting levy money going to 3 owners. Anyway, Punchestown.
Yeah,
where those 3 owners will.
Yeah, well, actually, there was a major upset on day 2 of Punchestown. Odds-on favourite Galopin Deschamps was beaten into second in the Punchestown Gold Cup by the Martin Brecel train Fast to Slow. The JJ Slevin mount won by just over 2 lengths. Willie Mullins did train the winner in the first of this evening's Grade 1s, with Gaelic Warrior claiming the Irish Mirror Novice Hurdle, and teenage jockey John Gleeson won the flat race aboard a dream to share for 85-year-old trainer John Kiley.
Very good. We are out of time. We're going to get over to the Etihad. Richie, thanks a mil.
Nice and lads.
Michael, thank you very much.
Cheers, show.